Good morning. On today's hot sheet, I'm going to be discussing the difference between rent and wage growth from 2019 to 2024. I'll also be going over millionaire homeowners and what that looks like, the growth of that. Weekly mortgage applications. Today is Wednesday, May 8th. I'm your host, Jeremy Knight, and we are starting the hot sheet now. Thank you for having me back. I'm glad to be here. I see you already hitting up the comments. We got Steve, Karen, Justin, Brad. Good to see you all this morning. Welcome to the Hot Sheet, the industry's only live daily news show on the internet, brought to you exclusively by BAM. The Hot Sheet covers what you need to know on the real estate industry in a 24-hour period. For access to the charts and slides we'll be reviewing today and every day, sign up for BAMX. This is where you get all access to the hot sheet, daily downloads, courses, bi-weekly masterminds, the BAMX community. And if you use the hot sheet code Jeremy, you will get 10% off your subscription. Now, I have been told by reliable sources that 99.9% of people that have signed up with BAMX using the hot sheet code Jeremy, their lives have been changed forever. So that is the stats that's on the market right now. I can't disclose my source for that, but good morning, Janice, Lenny. Good to see you, William, Kim. Wow, you are all in here. Definitely keep dropping in where you're coming in from. Eric, we are about to get started. I have a question before we get into the hot sheet about content that we create. It's just a general question. So yesterday or the day before, I posted an Instagram video. I found that doing the top 10 lists or top 5 lists about Austin have just absolutely blown up on my Instagram. So I posted one. As agents, we talk about the best things, right? The best neighborhoods, the best whatever. So I found an article talking about, it said the most dangerous, right? And I used this, said, hey, are these the worst neighborhoods to buy in or live in? Or maybe I just said, are these the worst neighborhoods? And I went through the top 10 based on what this article said. Now, I had a lot of agents DM me that they were offended that I would make this post. They said a lot of different things, but then a lot of other people, consumers in the post were like, hey, thank you for this information. So curiosity is killing the cat. In a poll there on the side, is it okay to talk about those areas? Now, I know people are going to say, oh, that might be a fair housing, but if you are citing that website or citing where you're coming from and asking a question, do you think that that is fair? I'm just curious because curiosity is killing the cat on this. So drop a comment. We'll read those in there. So definitely look at that Instagram story and you tell me, is it uncouth? Should agents talk about those things? I'd love to get your opinion on that. So thank you for dropping my Instagram link. So good morning, Savan. Good to see you from Cincy. Okay, so new research from Zillow and Street Easy shows that New York rents grew 7 times as fast as wages from 2022 to 2023. Also, since 2019, rent growth nationwide was at 34%, and that outpaced wage growth, which was 20%. Though 2023 brought some relief to renters, and we're going to pull up the charts here in 1 second. Go ahead, Sarah. U.S. rents increased 30.04%, while wages grew 20.2%. Most metro area analysts' rents have outpaced wages in 44 of the 50 largest states. And if you look on here, this is the 2022 to 2023 chart. New York City their rents are still outpacing growth. Now, there's a chart we'll get to in a minute that talks about Austin and some of the other cities where rents are now rent costs are dropping. So this is really interesting. So you have New York City that was up 1.2%. Sarah, if you wouldn't mind grabbing that chart one more time. Hey, Beth, good to see you in the comments. William, good to see you. William says, industry needs to stop being afraid of open conversation and dialogue. Thank you. Fair housing, be careful, is what Eric says. So curious to see what more of you had to say. So Boston is down 1%. Cincinnati is 0.09%. Buffalo is 0.7%. Chicago says negative 0.01%. So these are all increase in wages. And then if you look at the percentage point difference, you're looking at 7%, 6%, 6.4%. So some areas you're still seeing a gap between wage growth and rent growth. You can pull that down, Sarah. Thank you. So the national trend last year, wage growth was 0.43%, and that was for nationally. Exceeded rent growth by 3.4% nationally. And about half of major cities, except in New York City, rents grew more than 7 times faster than wages. So if you're in one of those markets like New York City, is it make more sense to buy a home or to rent if rent prices are going up? In Austin, rent prices are coming down, and we'll get into that in a second. If we open up the next chart here, talking about Tampa, Florida, it says between wage growth and rent growth since pre-pandemic 2019 to 2023, Tampa, Florida, wages only increased 15%, while rates increased 50%. In fact, a lot of these are in the Florida region. Miami, wages increased 20.4% and rents increased 52.6%. Indianapolis, wages increased 6.6% while rents increased 37.2%. Now, I know a lot of agents that have had, especially myself, clients that have investors that decided to go to places like Indianapolis because their rents were better for an investment standpoint. If you're in Indianapolis, you definitely tell me if you're seeing a lot more investors buy in that market. Hartford, Connecticut, you only saw wages increase 7.6% while rents increased 35.5%. Jacksonville, 9.7, with rents increasing 36.7. Atlanta, 12.2, increasing rents by 35%. Kansas City, still a lot of these cities, you're seeing wages not increase as fast as rents. We can pull this one down. Thank you. I'm going to go to a couple of the questions here. Brad says, definitely could see it being a fair housing issue, but empirical data is just data. So yeah, so exactly. If you're pulling data or information from additional sites, that's not you quoting or saying, don't move here. Is that still a fair housing? Going back to my question earlier. So I appreciate you continuing to answer those questions. So contributing factors to rent increases, high demand for millennials and Gen Zs combined with a national housing shortage has accelerated rent increases. Now, that's not true in the Austin market because we saw a buildup of multifamily, and a lot of markets we saw a buildup of multifamily. So some of those markets, which we'll get to in a second, like Austin, have not seen that. So strong multifamily construction has moderated rent growth in many areas, except for New York City, where demand outpaces construction. Now, what has regional observation shown? That Florida is drastically disparative. Look at this. High migration has led to skyrocketing rents, with wages lagging behind. Miami noted nearly 53%, which we quoted up there. Sarah, if you'll pull up the next slide, talking about Austin and decreases in divergence, you'll see rents decreased last year in Austin, Portland, and San Francisco. In 20 metros, wage growth surpassed rent increases. So you'll see on here, like Austin was 2.4% wage growth, and you saw a difference of 4.7% with rents coming down. San Jose was about a 5.8 difference. Houston saw one of the largest, which for Texas, which was great, 5.3. So it's becoming a little more affordable. And that's what you can say in some of these instances, is it is getting more affordable in some of these areas. Raleigh, North Carolina, 3.8. Salt Lake City, 4.7. San Antonio, 3.4. That's good. Got Trey Serrano, my guy in San Antonio. Portland, Oregon, 3.1. Minneapolis, 2.8. Riverside, California, 2.8. Charlotte, 2.8. And the United States average is about 0.8%. Phoebe, good morning in the chat. So question for you all, are you seeing rents drop in your markets? Drop a comment below if you have. I'll get to those as we get into the next question or next point here, which is about millionaire homeowners. Now, I want you to pay attention. I definitely want you to pay attention to this, because a lot of people, when I talk about building a YouTube audience and building your subscriber base and all of these things, we talk about your ideal avatar. So if you're going to be targeting people in this millionaire homeowner area, right, or if you're trying to go after clients with a higher net wealth, this information might be the information you use to start going after some of those people and getting that. Justin says they are dropping in Denver. Thank you, Justin. A new report by Point Two, covered by BAM, shows a number of millionaire homeowners in the US has more than quadrupled over a 5-year period from 2017 to 2022. And Gen X, I actually had to go Google what the age range was for Gen X to see if I fell into Gen X. So I was born in 81. Gen X ends at 69 to 1980. So if you're looking for that Gen X, which we're going to get to their stats here, give you an idea. Millennials, which I guess I consider millennial because I was born 81. We'll get to their, the disparities in each one of those. So Gen X now represents the largest share of this demographic. The number of millionaires owner occupied, so owned by an owner, households in the US saw a 446% increase from 30,000 in 2017 to over 136,000 in 2022. We'll get to in a second how they broke that down, so how they came up with this data. But I think this is really important to show that the number of millionaires even going back to pre-COVID has still increased almost for 450% if you look at it, indicating a significant rise in ultra wealthy homeowners. As a result of this growth, I had to read this 4 times, right? The number of people living in a millionaire homeowner occupied household also increased more than fourfold, totaling 322,000. So think about your dependents, your kids, things like that. Individuals in 2022. Wider high income growth. This is really, really crazy. Not only are millionaire households increasing, but other high income brackets are also expanding, while the number of families earning less than 75,000 is decreasing. So if you got reasons for that, drop it in the chat here. By the way, I live by the chat. So it's like Ron Burgundy. If you put it in the chat, he will read it. So definitely put that in the chat and answer my earlier question if you haven't already. Appreciate that. So millionaire households by generation. Now, you would think that baby boomers would be the biggest age bracket right? So people 55 and over would be the people that would have the largest wealth or millionaire base. But Gen X, the generation right before me, and you'll be curious to know the jobs. It's funny. I went through and looked at the jobs that, birthed, right? Millionaires, and real estate agent was not on there, by the way. So for all those people that say that you and I are both overpaid, we're not on the millionaire list. So here we go. So millionaires household by generation. Generation X, 37.4% of all millionaire homeowners. 37.4% of all millionaire homeowners are Gen X. 28.9% are baby boomers. So if you're going after that millennial base, right, the 1981 people like me, 19.7% are of the millionaire household, right? Gen Z, so the generation after me, the crazy generation, is that what they call it? I don't know. You tell me. 10.2 through, though this is likely due to younger people living in millionaire parents' houses. So those people that are on the internet yelling at us that we're scum real estate agents, because I get that all the time, which is hysterical in the comment section, especially if you run a YouTube channel. They're living in their basement potentially is what this is saying. And the silent generation is 3.7%. Here's where the stats break down. Pretty interesting. And I want to get your take on this. So marital status of millionaire homeowners. I'm going to leave this without comment. Just read you the data. You make up your summations in the comment section here. Marital status of millionaire homeowners. 75% of millionaire homeowners are married. 17.6% are single. 3.7% are divorced. Spouse absent is 1.8%. Widowed is 1.6%. And separated as 0.4%. So Steve says millionaire by dollars made a millionaire by dollars priced homes. Yes. Shared by gender, again, without comment, 53.8% are men and 46.2% by women. So, of the 100% of millionaires, 53.8% are men and 46.2% are women. So, thoughts on all of that? Let's get into the demographics a little bit more on Millionaire Homeowner. Again, if you are somebody trying to target a different demographic from what you're targeting, here's some good information. No, the average US millionaire is a married 50-year-old Gen Xer with a 5-bedroom home valued at around $1.8 million. I'd love some of those clients. I'm sure you would too. Okay, major coastal metros such as New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boston, Washington, D.C. have the highest concentration of millionaire households. The New York metro area alone accounts for 26,561 millionaire households. Millionaire by income. Yes, millionaire by income. Gotcha. Okay. Profession and income sources. And this is what I found really interesting because real estate agent was not on here. But what's really interesting is that by their holdings for millionaires, members of the millionaire household often work in high paying jobs such as chief executives, physicians, lawyers, software developers, engineers, and judges. However, they also have incomes from other sources like real estate. So, estates, trusts, interests, dividends, royalties, and rents. So, two of those are from real estate holdings. So, I find that really interesting when people say, hey, you're not going to get wealthy by owning homes. Even Byron on here has showed you that over a 30-year time frame, the wealth disparities by owning a home get drastically different. So, owning a home versus not owning a home. Home preferences. Millionaire homeowners generally opt for large homes with an average of 10 rooms. I'm curious how they came up with the 10-room thing because they said earlier that it was 5 bedrooms. So is that 5 bedrooms, kitchen, living room, dining room, man cave, garage? I guess then that's 10. Okay. How many of you have a man cave? I'm curious. Beth says, I actually think that's a great stat for men versus women millionaires. We're closing the gap. I love it, Beth. Great point. Millionaire homeowners generally opt for larger homes with an average of 10 rooms, often priced around 1.8 million. The value of these homes varies by location, with San Francisco probably being a 1,200 square foot house. I mean, what is $1.8 million? Where my Bay Area people, my LA people in here? Tell me what a $1.8 million house gets you in San Francisco, what it gets you in Los Angeles, what it gets you in San Diego, because that's curious. And averaging over $2.5 million in that area, while other cities like San Antonio down to New Braunfels, so my area, Austin, Texas, right outside my area, Austin, Texas, is 1 million. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Cincinnati, Ohio, and all these areas are a little bit less than $1 million. So millionaires are buying homes less than $1 million. Millionaires in the San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego areas are buying homes closer to $2.5 million. So challenges of wealth. Despite their wealth, many millionaire households face high expenses and may not save as much as expected due to big mortgages, private school tuition, and expensive lifestyles. Rising costs of inflation further contribute to financial pressures among these households. The costly lifestyle and ultra wealthy often require high earnings just to maintain, leading a treadmill. And I feel like everybody's on a treadmill, right? Treadmill effect, where even high incomes don't guarantee financial security. Despite these risks, many people will still choose to have rich people problems, is what the article stated. So, what are your thoughts on all of that? I'm very curious to see your questions in the chat or your comments in the chat on the differences in millionaires and the amount of millionaires that have been birthed since 2017 to 2022. Karen, hey, from Los Angeles, 1.8 in LA will get you a modest 2 to 3 bedroom Single family home depends on the specific neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, LA is a big area, so that makes sense. Okay, let's get into the data because this is really good information of what's happening in the markets. Obviously, as real estate agents, we care about what's happening in the markets and we need really good data. So here's good data on what is happening with mortgages. So the MBA weekly survey, the survey ending May 3rd, shows a 2.6% seasonally adjusted increase in mortgage applications from the previous week, with a 2% weekly increase in purchase index. What's really tough about this, though, is if you look at the year over year, which we'll get to the year over year stats in 1 second, the market composite index, which measures mortgage loan application volume, increased 2.6% on a seasonally adjusted basis from 3% on an unadjusted basis compared to the prior week. So week over week, we are seeing more people get mortgages. Obviously, if you want to pull up the mortgage rate real quick, Sarah, we can pull up that chart on, I think it's Mortgage Daily News. You have that chart. Year over year trend. Oh, let's go back up. Seasonally adjusted purchase index increased by 2% from the previous week. So if you look at this, rates are slightly down from last year, but we're still about 7.25%. Seasonally adjusted purchase index increased by 2% from the previous week, while the adjusted purchase index increased 2% compared to the prior week, but was 17% lower than the same time last week in 2023, which shows you that these high interest rates and high prices still have buyers sidelines, which is probably why we won't see prices increase as much as people had hoped maybe in 2024. The refinance index rose 5%, which is good from the previous week, but is still down 6% from the same week last year. Year over year trends, although there was a slight increase in purchase applications, activity from the lows in late October 2023, an unadjusted purchase index is still 17% lower than last year. So refinances are up. That's good. Interest rates for 30-year fixed rate mortgages, the average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed rate mortgages with a conforming loan with $766,000 or less decreased to 7.18% from 7.29%. That is great. Sarah in a second is going to pull up the 10-year treasury because we saw rates drop a little bit yesterday as well. I saw rates come down to about 7.25, depending on where you are. If we look at the 10-year treasury right now, it is slightly up. All of us realtors are going to do our realtor rain dance and hope that this drops a little bit so we see rates come down going into June, because I would love to get some more stuff under contract. Just a question for you in the chat. Eric, I'll get to your point here in a second. Just a question for you in the chat. Are you seeing a pickup in buyer activity? Are you seeing a decrease in buyer activity? Are you seeing a decrease in your market in activity, an increase in your market activity? I'm just curious. Put in the comment. I can tell you here in the Austin area, where as far as like our sales numbers and what's happening from last year, I would say we're still a little bit ahead of what happened last year, but it's still a challenging year here in the Austin area. I think a lot of people in our area are concerned that prices are going to drop. Interest rates still are high. They were told interest rates were going to drop. They haven't dropped. So I'm curious in your market what you're seeing. Eric says 1.8 million on Long Island will get you a McMansion on the North Shore to open up Bay Waterfront on the South Shore. Beth says that it's increasing. It's picking up. James says decrease in activity in the Phoenix area. I'm curious, is that because you're seeing a lot more inventory? Is that because what are the reasons why you think that you're seeing a decrease in activity in Phoenix? I'm curious. Eric says buyers are there if the house is priced correctly. Oh my goodness. Who is having these conversations with their sellers right now? I'm going to tell you what the conversations I'm having with my sellers and if it's similar to yours. Kim says pick up in buyer activity, seeing more buyers and multiple offers in many neighborhoods. Yeah, we've seen a pickup in buyers and multiple offers. I mean, last week, Eileen was writing an offer on $1 million property that had like 2 offers on it at the time. So Beth says, yes, Eric, more inventory is needed in Fairfield County, Connecticut. Tom is total days on market is less than 40 days. Don says balance activity east of Dallas. Brad says increase in inventory, buyers will follow. Interesting. Do you think that's because prices are coming down? 1 million gets you a fixer upper here, is what Phoebe says. Good to see you, Phoebe. Any thoughts on trade in mortgages? Interesting. I don't know that I understand what trade in mortgages means. So people that are giving their homes back to the bank. Is that what trade-in mortgage is? Sorry that I don't know what that term is. Maybe somebody can help me out in the comments there. Will Million, Beth says, what in Hattiesburg, 1 million can buy you 3 new construction homes and a car. Do they toss in a Ferrari when you buy that deal? Because I might move to Hattiesburg if that's the case. One conversation I'm having with sellers consistently is I feel like especially in the Austin area, prices have come down, what is it, 20-ish%, that a lot of people look at those 2022 prices and think, I can price there. And then if people don't bite on it, we can slowly drop our price to where they are. And that's a conversation that we're having to have is like, hey, you're just going to see days on market for your home sit longer, which means that we're going to have to drop our price faster. Even yesterday, Eileen wrote an offer on a property. They had dropped their price down to I'll throw out a theoretical number, $500,000. And that was like a $15,000 drop. And they wrote a $15,000 below offer on that. And so I use scenarios like that with my clients. If you price it right from the beginning, we're still seeing multiple offers. I give them the house that Eileen wrote an offer on at $1 million last week. It was priced pretty darn well. And so even for $1 million in the Austin area, it was priced well based on the comps. And then I look at other homes that maybe need a little bit of repairs, maybe, because buyers in your markets are buyers being quote unquote picky, right? For the amount of money that they're spending, with the interest rate that they're spending, they want to get the exact home they want. I don't really think that's picky. I think that's just choosing wisely. You tell me. Data is okay on site. Arizona here, not a Ferrari. Oh man, I'd love a Ferrari. All right. Thank you for joining the hot sheet. I appreciate everybody that dropped comments in. We will see you tomorrow. Byron will be back, but we won't see you on Friday. Thanks again, everybody.